All right, I got a number of messages and comments asking me to talk about a fight scene from the TV series A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is a prequel to Game of Thrones, where the main character is Sir Duncan the Tall, aka Dunk, a hedge knight. And I finally remembered to actually do it. I'm a little late to the party, but I didn't watch any other videos about this because I wanted to approach it with a blank slate. Obvious spoiler warning. This is going to be nothing but spoilers, but yeah, I think you understand. Let's go ahead.
Keep your mounts as long as you can. I will handle the King's Guard.
Interesting. This seems to be inspired by Eastern armor. You know, the term plate mail was pretty common in video games for a while, you know, like late 90s, early 2000s in particular, which is an inaccurate term generally. If you wanted to call something plate mail, this would be it, because it is, you know, small segments of plate, rigid plate combined with mail kind of woven into it. You see this in Ottoman armor, Persian, Russian. So interesting to see that thrown into the mix with Central European medieval armor. It is fantasy, of course. It's just interesting to see. That's a good armor design. I like the deep fluting. It looks perfectly wearable, so cool and practical. That's always nice.
Don't die.
There's Dunk. He's wearing mail with a surcoat and a gorget. The other guy, I don't know what his name is. Sorry if I don't know names or mispronounce them. I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm just watching this scene here just for the fighting. And yeah, this armor, it's kind of weird to see such well-designed armor and like clearly historically it is inspired on the one hand, but on the other hand, it looks a lot like the one horrible take on a brigandine I reviewed back in 2018 or 19 or so, where the segments are so large and so far apart that it basically doesn't do anything to protect you. There's plenty of space to be stabbed in between, but I've seen this a lot as just leather armor, where it's just, you know, one layer of, you know, like suede or something, soft leather, and then like maybe hardened plates or just rectangles riveted onto it. So I guess this is just poorly made brigandine. I'm hoping that there's supposed to be metal plates in there. You know, normally they're on the inside, you know, where you only see the rivets. Right, he has gauntlets too. There's young Aegon Targaryen handing him the lance. I like that he has mitten gauntlets, much more protective. You know, fingered ones look cool, and you can move, like you can manipulate things with a little more dexterity, but they don't protect all that well. But they were common. That's not an amazing helmet. That kind of looks a lot like some of the kind of generic knightly helmet reproductions that you see on the market. Huh. That one looks sort of elvish almost. It's got dragon imagery, obviously. I mean, Targaryen, but definitely looks more fantasy than a lot of the others, but in a good way. I like it. The wide-eyed terror is very understandable. Oh, that's cool. That's a really good transition. I like that. It looks like a video game. And then it zooms in. In fact, this is what you would often see in games. You know, it goes from third-person perspective and zooms into the first person. That's a very nice touch. I like that. Also kind of goes to show the chaos of it all, right? It's like, you only have like milliseconds to decide, you know, where to guard. Yeah. Oh, that actually went in straight through the mail, unsurprisingly, with that kind of force involved. Yikes. That would be most likely lethal. That right there, I mean, medicine, it's not great. Okay. Now that's fantasy armor right there. I hate the helmet. I can only tell you that. It's too much. The armor itself is cool. Again, lots of fluting. I'm a little concerned that he doesn't seem to protect the gaps in the armor at all. It looks like there's just an arming doublet or gambeson underneath where normally you would expect mail because, I mean, you see how big the gap is and it has to be to be able to move your arms properly. So that's a bit odd. But, you know, I don't even mind the spikes. They're small enough. They don't look like they would interfere with range of motion. The helmet is... that looks like poor vision and awful ventilation. Like that, you'd struggle to breathe in that pretty quickly, I think. Looks cool, but it doesn't even have the breathing holes the way this one does. I don't know. Looks cool from the back too. Like, it's a great design, like visually, but yeah. I don't think you would want to wear that necessarily. Oh, that's rough. To see that coming for a split second before you get knocked out, because you're definitely going to get knocked out, even with a helmet. That's a harsh impact. Although I'm not really sure why his eye is all smushed there. Because with this kind of helmet, I feel like it would have to be dented inward a lot to actually kind of crush your eye. The spikes of the flail shouldn't be long enough to get through the eye slit, and if they did, that would look a lot worse. So, not sure. I mean, it's good to actually show an injury, like a somewhat reasonable injury underneath. Semi-reasonable, I guess. I mean, to be fair, I have never worn a helmet like this. So if someone has who can enlighten us on that, feel free to in the comments. But I would guess that the helmet liner should do a pretty good job of preventing the helmet from shifting so much that the visor knocks you in the face or whatever. You should really only get this sort of injury if it gets dented so far that it pushes into your skin and your skull. Which shouldn't really be the case there, but hey, that's just my speculation. Not enough to take you out of the experience. Man, they did some great work with the shots here. Like the choice of camera perspective and, you know, what happens and seeing like his reactions. This is such a good use of perspective. That is really good. And one thing I also have to say, this does not suffer from the usual Parkinson's camera work that you so often see in medieval inspired or any fantasy fights, or you know what, any fight pretty much in most movies and TV series. Like a lot of the times it's so shaky because they think they have to do that to convey the chaos of battle, and they have to jump cut like every 3 milliseconds. This is pretty stable. Like the camera moves, obviously, but no, I don't know if this is an edit thing. I should probably check the original. It seems to be 30 FPS, much darker. I don't really know if that's original either. I should have watched this, but I'm not subscribed to anything. I don't have any streaming platform or whatever, and I don't really watch that much, so it's not worth it. But anyway, it seems like that the camera is like that. So I don't think this was stabilized in post or anything. It's just a 60 FPS edit. Yep, using the shield. With that kind of shield, you can quite effectively use it for offense. Oh. Yeah, that's what daggers are for. That is pretty much exactly what you would expect. Strong enough thrust will go through mail. Oh. Bollock dagger through the hand. You got fucked. That's painful. And I don't think you should be able to use that hand effectively anymore after this, because there are a lot of tendons here, and I can't really see how you would be able to grasp anything with that hand anymore. So let's keep track of that. Let's see. So there's the left hand. I mean, not as bad. And he's taken a lot of abuse. Okay, so the first thing he does, basically, after getting stabbed through the hand, is slap. You know, with medieval medicine, that hand is going to be perma messed up. I don't think rehabilitation is going to work very well, but... Right, I almost missed this moment here. So there's a thrust coming, and he sweeps it aside, deflecting it with a point down, and then he's bringing the sword up. And right after the deflection, he wraps his arm around the sword arm. Which I think is something that Fiore would approve of. Locks the arm in, but then he gets a shield bash to the helmet, so that almost worked. Who knows? Wait. Did I see a false edge cut there? Like a fancy one? So here, true edge, and I believe he comes back with a false edge, right? Alright. Alright. That's kind of like a Shieldhow-ish, right? I mean, that was a bit weird. Like, what are you doing there? I don't know what's up with the tank rotation there, but that's neat. You know, this coming back around. Or backhand false edge cut. That's pretty cool. I like that. Deflecting with the shield. Okay. Yeah. Catching the cut, like static block with the flat of the blade, it looks like. Okay. Oh. That looks quite good. Like, there's some overswinging and whatnot, but also Dunk is totally messed up, injured, exhausted, so it's understandable. That's a nice parry there too. Even though, no, I take that back. It's not. To meet an attack to your left by moving the sword all the way over instead of using your shield that's right there, that's a strange choice. That's a very strange choice. There, Prince Arian has completely opened himself up, no defense whatsoever. But the shield is still closer to where the attack is coming from. So, very strange choice to to defend that with the sword instead of the shield. Guess it was more of a thrust, but it's a usual thing where, for the safety of the actors, even though in armor might not be as much of a concern, but yeah, that thrust basically went way past him, so he technically didn't even have to respond to that. But to then use the sword to defend, I was just going to say, and then he throws it. Okay, well, that's an unconventional choice, to say the least. Why would you do that? Okay. I mean, it works, and then he keeps bashing him with the shield and retrieves the sword. I mean, okay, fair enough. It works. It's just a very odd choice. And then, what, he jams his guard into the eye slit, looks like. So, kind of like a weird Mordhau with the hand very high up on the blade. Or low, I guess, closer to the guard. Yeah, he just kind of jams it. Okay, it's so blurry, I don't really know, but it looks like it looks like he jams the guard into the eye slit. Just kind of punches with it. Yeah. Close. Oh, more than close. So, is he losing his eye there, or what's going on? Both exhausted. Oh, yep. That's pretty much the finishing blow. Getting caught like with a powerful strike, like right into the inside of the thigh. where you're not armored. I mean, he isn't. Yeah, you can have mail there, or sometimes they're overlapping plate segments. But yeah, to be full force, cut on the inside of the thigh, that's the femoral artery. He's gonna bleed out. Yeah, that should probably be even more blood than that. Passing out, yeah, that's fair. And he still gets back up from that. You know, this is obviously for dramatic effect, you know, the heroic deed and all that, but the funny thing about the human body is it's at the same time very fragile and remarkably resilient. You know, people have just collapsed from fairly minor injuries, but they've also carried on through absolutely devastating, lethal wounds and just kept going for quite a while. So it's believable enough, I feel like, even though he's taken a lot. I feel like the blood loss should probably be enough to make him pass out, but you know, some people just have that kind of resilience. I like the sound effect there. It's sort of muffled to indicate that he's exhausted, probably concussed. I mean, 100% concussed. After that flail hit to the helmet, he's definitely concussed. He's probably nauseated and disoriented and dizzy, in a lot of pain, you know, feeling faint, no blood loss. So, yeah, this is definitely a heroic struggle to still keep going. Oh, yeah, that'll do. When you're on the ground like that, then bashing the helmet, doesn't matter how good the helmet is, that's gonna hurt. And that helmet does not look great. Yeah, this helmet I really don't like. Okay, so as far as breathing goes, there is a large opening under the nose, so that's good. Knowing how knights fought back then and what those daggers were for, they would absolutely try to jam a dagger blade into the nose. Yikes. But, you know, at least you can breathe a little better. But visibility must be terrible in this. You can probably see a little bit through the nose, but the eye openings are so small and like so narrow, like it ends right here. So peripheral vision, basically you have none at that point, I would imagine. And it would also be hard to see down. Okay, there I see more actual defensive use of the shield. You know, well, I mean, they're still doing that. Still, like, rotating the shield pretty far. But at least there's a shield strike from there. But, like, I at least see the shield in front some of the time. My standards are so low at this point for shield use in TV series and movie fight scenes, and in video games too, for that matter, that like anytime they have the shield in front of them at all, I'm like, So I read about this scene where Baylor's helmet is removed and something dramatic happens. Yikes. So that's an interesting idea. You know, his helmet was totally caved in, and so is the skull. They're completely fractured and whatnot. But the helmet kept it together enough to keep him alive, and then as soon as it comes off, he expires. Right? Like generally, the idea, I guess, is somewhat plausible, even though they took it extremely far. Like that is so caved in, that is so ruined. There's like a cavern in his head. I feel like that damage is bad enough that even the helmet being on, like keeping pressure on, I don't think that would be enough. He would be at the very least passed out, heavily concussed, but most likely he would probably already be gone. That is quite extreme. I know that the advice for first aid after a motorcycle crash is often to leave the helmet on. And I've heard something to that effect that if there's a skull fracture, the helmet might be keeping things together. And if you take it off, then that might make things way worse. I found the article of guidelines for the safe removal of motorcycle helmets, and also looked at a few other sources. And it seems like the consensus is it's usually when the patient is awake, responsive and everything, and is clearly breathing without a problem, you can leave the helmet on. But if they're unconscious and you have to make sure that they're breathing properly, then you may have to remove the helmet, being very careful to keep the spine steady meanwhile and all that. So I don't know if this is true, like the idea that if you have a fracture that the helmet might keep you stable, and as soon as it comes off, then that might be a problem. I don't know if that's really true, but I've heard it. Could be a thing. I don't know. I would think in this case, like with part of his head like being straight up gone, I don't think so. He should not have been conscious and probably not alive anymore. Anyway, so that's my impression. I might have missed things. Not the most attentive guy, admittedly. So let me know what you think. Is there anything else you've noticed? What do you think about the fight scene? Like, is it convincing? The camera work? Like, I think it's really good. For once, I don't have any complaints. Usually, they do a lot of annoying things, like way too many jump cuts and way too shaky camera. This, on the other hand, is properly done. Anyway, I don't need to babble anymore. Again, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and take care, folks.